ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। So we find that after Lord Shiva learned that Sati has taken away her life, he became very angry. And in that anger, he produced a demon, an asura, who was very gigantic, practically like touching the sky. That has been described. And how strong was he? It is mentioned. He was personified Krodha, anger of Lord Shiva. He was prepared to execute the order of Lord Shiva. So we know that Lord Shiva produced him to kill the people and Daksha in that arena. Being produced from Lord Shiva, he was very capable. So considering himself that he will be able to withstand all kinds of opposition of the power displayed by Bhrigu Muni, who has produced different devatas, ribhus. He was confident that he will be able to combat them. So he circumambulated Lord Shiva and he asked that, please order me, what should I do? So along with the other followers of Lord Shiva, Veerbhadra, this gigantic personality, they all proceeded towards that assembly where this yagna was being performed. So he's going there and it is mentioned what happened when they were moving towards that place. At that time, all the persons assembled in the sacrificial arena. So all the persons means who all were there? The priests were there, then the chief of the sacrificial performance, Daksha, was there, Brahmanas were there, and the wives of Brahmanas were there who were attending. They were all able to see that a kind of darkness is approaching. And when they analyzed, they saw this darkness is created by dust. which is soaring high in the sky. It's like a dust storm which is being raised. So all of them who were there, they were all filled with anxiety. And they started considering what exactly is happening. So just like we saw, Vata na vanti. They were thinking, there is no air blowing. How can dust storm at all be raised in the sky if there is no wind? So there is no air blowing like that. So they understood it is not some kind of natural storm which they are seeing. Santi dasyavaha. Then they were thinking probably this dust is created by a group of plunderers who are approaching this place. A lot of plunderers are coming. They want to plunder wealth. But then they again thought about that even this is not possible. Why this is not possible? Prachina barhi jivati hogra dandaha. The old king Barhi, he is still living. He may be old, it does not matter. But he is a very strong ruler. Ugra dandaha, he will punish. Because of the fear of his punishment, we don't think that any plunderers are there in our state. There are no plunderers. Then they are thinking probably it may be because of the cows which are running. But then they are seeing there are no cows. Gavo na kalyanta. Idam kuto raja. So then how this dust storm, how this has become possible? So then they started wondering, Loko adhuna kim playaya kalpate. Looks like that this is the time of pralaya and our planet, our lokas will be all destroyed. So this is the context here. So Prabhupada is highlighting on the strong management which was being done by King Barhi. Even if we see, similar description is there about the rule of Maharaj Parikshit. Parikshit Maharaj would regularly tour his kingdom. The king was considered to be Raja and as well as Rishi. He had all the capabilities of ruling a state. But at the same time, he was a Rishi. He was a great devotee of the Lord. We find in Bhagavad Gita also this very important task of propagating this knowledge, protecting this knowledge, protecting the propagation of this spiritual knowledge is a very important role of these Raja Rishis. Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, Imam Raja Rishayo Viduhu. This knowledge was transferred from one to another in disciplic succession by all these great Raja Rishis, Vivashwan, Manu, Ikshvaku, like this. So this is a very important qualification required for a ruler, is that he must be a great devotee of the Lord, practically a Mahabhagavata, and at the same time he must have all the qualities of a courageous Kshatriya. Such a person actually is qualified to represent the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a monarch or as a king. So, we find that example of Maharaj Parikshit, that in his kingdom, it is not that he would collect tax from the people and he would sit idly and eat and sleep and enjoy that wealth which was collected from the people. That was not his idea. And he would see to it that the other kings, they all paid their taxes regularly and they would abide by his orders. He was the emperor, and then there were many other kings who would rule their particular state, but they would abide by the orders of Parikshit Maharaj. They would represent him and rule the citizen. And he was the emperor of the whole world. So, he would chastise any kind of person who was supposed to be a ruler, a king under him, but who would not represent him. So, it is explained in Bhagavatam that one day when he was touring his kingdom, he came across one person who was dressed like a king. Because there were many kings who were under him as an emperor. So this person was also looking like that, as if he is also one of the kings. He was dressed like a ruler, but his behavior was not that of a ruler. It was of a low class man. Because as a ruler, the king is supposed to give protection to all his subjects, including the animals. Prabhupada explains this concept is not there today. The king or the government, they may take care of the citizen, that is also very difficult. Practically nobody has protection and animal has no protection at all. Rather, the government encourages building of slaughterhouses, mechanized killing of the animals. Licenses are issued that poor animals can be slaughtered and eaten away. Earlier, there were no requirement of these slaughterhouses. It is not that there were no people who were not eating, but the process was different. that anybody who wanted to eat would follow the process as it is given in the Shastra, the restrictions given in the Vedic literatures. Abide by that. So these slaughterhouses were not allowed. So this king, he was dressed up like a king, but his actions were like Shudra, lower than a Shudra. What was he doing? He was herding a cow and a bull. So immediately Parikshit Maharaj got down and challenged this low class man and said that, how do you think that the descendants of the Pandavas have gone away, they are all finished, that you can do whatever you like, till I am there you cannot do all these things in my state. And he was immediately about to kill him. But then that king, so-called king, that person, he immediately surrendered to Parikshit Maharaj. And he said, sir, I am also your subject. I also require a place to stay. Please give me some place to stay. So Maharaj Parikshit, he was very intelligent. He told him, yes, you can stay. You can stay in a place where all these 4 kinds of sinful activities goes on. Meat eating, drinking, illicit sex, intoxication. You can go and stay in those places. But that Kali Purusha was able to understand there is no such place. All over earth, there is no such place. He was able to understand. So, we can see that when there is a strong king, even these kinds of sinful activities cannot enter. That was the kind of, kings who were there at that time. Why is it required that the king has to be very strong? Because one of the very important mission of the Supreme Lord is Paritranaya Sadhuna Vinashaya cha Dushkrita. The Lord comes to give protection to sadhus and these kinds of elements who create disorder in the state in order to annihilate them. So that is one of the very important missions. Why it is required? In order to propagate Krishna consciousness. In order to establish dharma, it is required. Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkrita dharma samsthapana arthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So either the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself comes or his representatives, they establish dharma like this. There is another example we can see which is completely opposite to this. We see the example of King Vena. So in the example of King Vena, we find he was practically like an asura. Even though born in a royal family, by his action, he was an asura. And rather than carrying out the mission of the Lord, wherein he has to protect the people who are propagating Krishna consciousness, he ordered completely opposite. He said, in my kingdom, no more sacrifices. Na hotavyam, no more sacrifices. Na datavyam, no more charity. All these things are not allowed in my kingdom. You see? And then, of course, Prabhupada explains, when a bigger rogue comes, the smaller rogues for some time, they all become quiet. So for some time it looked like that all these smaller rogues who were disturbing people, they all became quiet. But that is not a solution. It is just like if a person like Hitler is ruling, other smaller people, they also become fearful because of his strength. Isn't it? But he himself is a bigger culprit. Just like we hear about that example of, I think that was Napoleon's, wherein the thief challenged him when he was caught. So he was ordered that his head should be severed from his body. So then he said that I have a plea to make, please allow me. So he was allowed. And then he said, my dear sir, first of all, your head should be severed from the body. So he became very angry. He said, what are you saying? He said, sir, what is the difference between me and you? I am a small thief and you are a bigger thief. I plunder some small amount, some small items from here and there. You plunder the whole state. You plunder the whole country. How are you different from me? So immediately he was released. So King Vena was that kind of king. So this is a very important thing which is mentioned here. Prabhupada is saying that the citizens were confident that as long as King Barhi, even though he may be old, till he is living, there is no possibility of plunderers in our state. This possibility does not exist. That means if there is no strong king, if the rule is not strong, plunderers, rogues, thieves, dishonest people, it is a harboring ground for them. It's a fertile ground for them. You see? So if we find today that there are rogues and there are thieves, then we can understand that actually there is no strong governance as such. So there are certain important qualities which are required of a leader. Either he is leading the citizens, or he is a father who is leading his children, he is a spiritual master who is leading his disciples, or any kind of leader who represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all require this very important quality. Just like we find the example where it is said that if one cannot lead his dependents back to Godhead, then better he not become either a father or a mother or some spiritual leader, any such kind of thing, where he cannot lead his dependents. So parents, just like for example, they have a responsibility that they have to be strong enough to see that their children are in the proper path of Krishna consciousness, that is the word. So it is required. The parents sometimes, they have to be very strict with their children so that they can be on the right path. Similarly, the spiritual master, just like the example is given, that the spiritual master or the father, when he sees faults in their subordinate, they are supposed to chastise them and not encourage them. Chanakya Pandit says that if Encouragement is done. When a person is deviating from the right path, all kinds of bad characters and habits will grow. Actually, you can see. Similarly, the temple commanders or whoever is taking care of the devotees, two qualities are very important. Compassionate, he has to be benevolent, compassionate. And at the same time, he has to be very strong to see that the devotees under him follow a proper discipline. It is required. Just like the example is given about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though the Supreme Lord he is softer than a lotus, but when it is required, he is harder than a thunderbolt. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like that. When it was required, he was very soft. And when it was required, he was so hard that he would not listen to anything. It's like few days back we were hearing the example of, one was the example of Junior Chota Haridas. So many devotees tried from their side. So many devotees tried from their side, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not budge. He said that he has broken the principle of being a proper sannyasi and he must suffer. Ultimately, to the point that Chota Haridas committed suicide, and there was no repent that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed. He said that yes, this was required for him. So whenever it was there, we find that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself exhibited that he was more harder than even a thunderbolt. So this quality is very important. It's like Prabhupada used to say that devotees, the preachers in Krishna consciousness, they should have the heart of a Bengali mother, and they should have the bravery, the heart of just like the English soldiers, British soldiers. So we have to be brave in our preaching Krishna consciousness, but at the same time we should have the heart, a wide heart. That means a broader outlook, broader understanding, isn't it? So wherever it is required, this strictness of being disciplined, all these things are also required, that these have to be followed. So sometimes it may be appreciated, sometimes some people may not appreciate, but if we understand that overall it is done for the welfare of the devotees so that they can all be in Krishna consciousness, more and more they can advance. It's like we find the examples of even how Sri Narad Muni also, when it was required, he chastised Kuveras, sons of Kuveras. And the whole idea was that they become reformed, and they became reformed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chastised Jagai and Madhai, and they became reformed in their Krishna consciousness. They became great devotees. They gave up all their sinful activities. So, this kind of strictness is required for any leader. But at the same time, we have to be very cautious that it can become exploitative if the leader is not mature. Rather than helping the subordinate, it can ruin their spiritual life. If the leader does not know how to use his position, how to use his authority in a very mature and proper way. Not that because I am a temple commander or I am temple president or I am this or that, and then I use that position to settle some scores. That yes, because I am your authority, you did this to me, now you face the consequences. You will not get anything. You want to go for preaching, you will not get. What possibility is there? Because you are in charge of the department, that you will cut off all kinds of facilities. Out of what? Not out of welfare for that devotee, out of some kind of resentment which you have toward that devotee. Not that kind of leadership. See, that is not that will actually spoil the whole thing. It will spoil our Krishna consciousness, it will spoil others' Krishna consciousness. So for a leader, certain things are very important. One is that he has to be a very good listener. He should listen. What happened, what circumstances, analyze the whole situation, and then, as far as his intelligence permits, taking help if it is required from other seniors, he takes a decision that yes, this is good for this devotee, this is how it is welfare for this devotee. So, in that sense, if we understand, then these kinds of bad behaviors, this kind of different kinds of, just like we are seeing here, rogues and thieves and unwanted population, they will not go. So even in Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada, he would say, better to keep the cowshed empty. Let there be only one cow, not the cows who are always fighting and who are worth nothing practically. This is what Prabhupada said. Instead of filling our ashram with people who are not wanting to be disciplined, fighting and fault finding, Prabhupada used to say, better let it be empty, better let there be only one devotee, does not matter. Isn't it? So that means quality is what we should look out for. So in Krishna consciousness, it is, of course, we want both. We want a number of devotees also. But the most important priority is that if anyone, no one requires a pre-qualification to become a great devotee. Somebody has been having a good upbringing, it helps him, there is no doubt. But even if somebody has no good upbringing, it may take time, but if he takes it seriously, anyone, if one takes Krishna consciousness seriously, there is no doubt all his misgivings, all his bad behaviors, everything can be mitigated. Otherwise, as we find, just like Balaram had to punish Romaharshana Suta, and he remembered his lower birth at that time. Because from a lower birth, he was given a chance to be risen higher. And he is sitting on the asana. But he is behaving like lower than even a person born in a lower family. So then Balramji had to remember his lower birth. That yes, finally this is what you are, even though you are given a chance. So we should be very cautious. We are all coming from different kinds of backgrounds, atheistic backgrounds and this and that. And Srila Prabhupada has given us chance to become Brahmanas. Isn't it? We should exhibit those qualities and not remain at our, with our earlier different kinds of propensities and all those things. That will remain if we do not seriously and sincerely practice Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, the process is so powerful that all our old tendencies can be immediately wiped away, and we are situated on transcendental platform. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki